Hi everyone, it's Natalie. Just a quick tarot pulse update. I had a really long day at school. I'm subbing at a school district right now for just to kind of make ends meet in the meantime while I'm getting my business up and running. And my first doula client is one that I'm doing pro bono because I'm still earning my certification. So I really needed to pick up a job, like a proper, something I can go and do pretty regularly, with a relatively decent, salary. And I got home and I was really exhausted, and I just ended up going to sleep and then woke up and thought, I think I'll just kind of restart, the evening from a different place. So I decided to take my pulse and just get a sense of where am I right now. And I pulled out, I wasn't even going to record it. I wasn't going to do anything with it. I was just going to fly by the seat of my pants. But the reading was just so insightful and really encouraging and fascinating that I decided to share it. Anyway, so first card to come up was Temperance, which looks like this in the Indigo Alchemist deck. And the first cup that I got was the King of Cups. And this one felt really, really validating. And I can explain. Because if what we're looking at with the Tarot Pulse is really just kind of seeing where we are moment to moment and getting kind of holding up a mirror and being able to look in the mirror and say, oh, okay, that's where I am right now. Now what? What do I do with that information? This was a really effective reading. So, despite it being a really long day and really difficult, it was full of a lot of great successes, both for me and for the kids I worked with. I'm working right now with a lot of special needs kids. So I've been subbing for the paraprofessionals that accompany really high kids with high needs, a high level of needs in schools. In the special. What am I saying? It's they call it SSD because it's the special school district that coordinates with the public school district. But I work for the public schools, not for special school district. It's complicated. At any rate, the SSD kids, and that's usually how they're referred to as the students that are covered by SSD, they often have very complicated set of needs that need to be addressed and can't be left alone in a conventional classroom or even within, even sometimes in the SSD classroom. So that's what the paraprofessionals do. And it's a really good fit. It's something I really like doing, in part because I feel like the training and the work that I've done as a Buddhist and as a semi-monastic has been extremely useful for this particular purpose. So it's a lot of self-regulation of your own emotions and your own emotional state and your own nervous system, in order that the kids that you're working with have kind of a clean slate and the ability to better manage their own nervous systems. So that's kind of how I work with it, is just from that place. So it's like staying mindful all day long, and continuing to stay present and find a way to refresh the present moment, including like self-compassion and self-care. Like, what do I need to do for myself so I can continue, getting through the day without getting really irritable or frustrated or too low on gas. And I'll say it's really challenging. It can be extremely challenging because these are kids who are, a lot of them are on the spectrum. And they have behaviors that lend themselves to really just kind of becoming completely dysregulated. And you don't always know for sure, even with a kid that you've worked with a lot, like what they're actually going to do. And it can take you by surprise. So, which is okay if you're coming from a calm place of dealing with that and you're not sort of going, what are they going to do? Managing it and helping them manage it is actually a lot easier. Um, but it is really exhausting. I think it's exhausting either way. It's just that you can be tired and feel relaxed because you're tired, or you can be tired and find that your nervous system is fried, and you're full of cortisol. And I will take the just like relaxed and tired any day over the cortisol response. And thankfully, I'm just in it. I mean, as a substitute, I don't have any real need to be in a cortisol response to any of it. I would, one could argue perhaps that you don't ever have to be, but the truth of the matter is that depending on how, what the stakes are for you, that's just going to happen. But, personally, I don't have to be in that place with this because the stakes are not that high. I'm only earning $95 a day. So, really I can just go in and afford to just be present. And it is enough. It really is. I don't have to do anything else besides that. And pay attention. So to get a King of Cups was like, yay, you got an A+, Nat, good job. So like after spending the whole day going, good job, you did really well, it was like someone saying, hey, good job, you did really well. Which is nice. It's really nice to hear that. So that was first. And then the second card that came up was just a little confusing, but I got some clarity on it, and I'll explain that in a minute. Hermit came up next. And with the Hermit, the 5 of Pentacles, which in this deck is like a pentacle that's locking a door. And inside that little, there it is. Inside that little slit of that door is the whole universe. So there it is. So we'll get some more clarity on that in a second. Third up, Strength. And with it came 6 of Wands. So that felt really good. There were a lot of victories today. And the language on this one is have your day in the sun, is what it says. Yeah, there were a lot of like little victories for the kids that I worked with today, including, I don't know, just getting like one of the kids I took to art class, and it was kind of tough because I could tell like the art teacher wanted nothing to do with him. And it was kind of like, you guys can just go over there in that corner and sit at that table, and if he makes noise, you got to leave, kind of thing. But she didn't really want to engage him or work with him. So I thought I was accompanying him to art class where the teacher would lead what the activity was, and I would then support that activity. But I actually then found that what was going on was, nope, that's not how it works. You put him in a corner, you get to give him some crayons and a piece of paper, and while the other kids are making incredible stuff, you guys can just be there, and if he can't self-regulate, you're out. And that kind of broke my heart a little bit. And it really surprised me. But thankfully, my partner is an art therapist and has worked with a lot of kids on the spectrum. He has like over 9 years of experience of doing that before he ever trained as an art therapist, and actually within that district as well. And so what I did was I pulled out a load of markers that were scented, and I know that this particular kid really likes the sensory, the smell and stuff, and I thought I could probably trust him not to eat the markers or put them in his mouth. And we ended up making like 7 or 8 drawings because I just sat and I would start a drawing, and I learned that he also didn't like being talked at too much. And I kind of enjoy being in a space where I don't have to do a lot of talking, despite like enjoying coming on YouTube and doing a lot of talking, which is really funny. But in truth, I really kind of just like to work quietly and silently a lot of the time. So with this little sweetheart, I sat and we just drew, and I would make a mark on the page and then point to it, and then he would bring his attention back and draw, and we had a great time. And before we knew it, like 30 minutes had passed, and apparently that was a first. He's never gotten through a whole art class of 30 minutes without there being some kind of dysregulatory response. And I can think of 100 different reasons why that could be. But it was really beautiful to sit and be with him and be in a situation where it could be the case that he just enjoyed playing and we just enjoyed drawing together. it was really fun, actually. I had a great time. And when I brought him back to the class, I was really like patting him on the back and saying, you did really, really well. Good job. Um, your mom and dad have pictures, and that's apparently something his parents don't get very much. And it just felt really good. It felt good for him. It felt good for me. And then I said, you've earned a break. And he looked stunned, like he thought he'd been on a break. So that too was really cool. So for his break, I said, if you go to your talker and let me know what you want, we'll go do whatever you want. So he wanted to go on the sensory swing. So we spent 20 minutes after that playing on the sensory swing until it was time to go home. And it was just really nice. It was so exciting to see, to see him have that success, and to have been in any way a part of it was really rewarding. So that was great. And then, Justice was my last one. And surprise, surprise, the Four of Swords came up. And it's like this in this deck, but of course, like usually it's like a dead body, or it's the dude in the tomb or whatever. And let me tell you, when I got home, that's about how I was the guy in the tomb, because that's about how tired I was. I really was so tired, I dropped. I called my mom and said, can you just talk to me for 20 minutes so I can walk the dog? And then I just got to sleep. So I dropped, and, it just felt really good. So I wanted to get more clarity on the Five of Pence, because that was a little strange and unusual. And I wasn't quite sure within the context of the other cards how I was supposed to interpret that. But lurking in the background, and I will say Earth and Pentacles are kind of an area of, I won't say lack or weakness, but they're not, the other three suits are the stronger suits for Natalie. And the Pence have always felt a little not quite there. And interestingly, I'm very conversant in astrology. Really just always loved astrology, and I've never given it up, actually. The way I kind of dropped tarot for a long time, astrology I've never dropped. And I've continued to grow in my conversation with astrology. But there is no Earth anywhere in my chart except my South Lunar Node. So my South Lunar Node is Taurus, and my North Lunar Node is Scorpio. Very hard placement. Real challenging in some respect, but not having any. It's interesting because a lot of people say, but you're so grounded, or I read you as an earth sign. Well, it's kind of like getting the color blue. In terms of physics, there is no blue existing in that shirt. There's every other color, and I'm explaining this so badly and paraphrasing it so badly, but anyway, it's reflecting blue because of the lack of blue. So I reflect a lot of earth because there isn't any in there. It's something that on some levels I'm supposed to give up, but interestingly, I have to go into that more deeply in order to fully inhabit the other elements. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's more than I should probably even try to explain right now. Anyway, Five of Pence, a little bit out there. Wasn't quite sure where we were going with that one. I mean, I know I'm like short on the cash right now. The cash is not great. But I kind of was like, but I don't feel impoverished right now. Why do, I mean, I won't be paid for a while, and I do need to manage some money, but I don't, it's not like walking past the church with the Five of Pentacles in it. So I pulled a card from, my tree spirit deck, because we all know how much I adore and love. Oops, there he is. Adore and love. If we can get the glare, there it is. The tree spirit deck. And tree spirit deck, chucked a card out at me. And this does happen a lot when I shuffle. The right card just comes flying out of decks. And that's also how I know I have a good connection with a deck. But anyway, this is the symbol for red oak. And that's a new card for me to get. The keywords for red oak are bare bones. And I think I marked it, yeah. Bare bones. And it says, sturdiness, appropriateness, the right supports, simplicity, and the essentials. And then it gives like a basic outline of the situation. Check that the structures you have in place are sturdy enough to uphold your plans. Make sure the basic needs are in place before progressing any further. Don't worry about the appearance of things. Make sure everything is really sound and workable. So, in terms of pentacles, that would be like financial, not just financial, but like material. So as much as I'm putting out, in the world, as much as I'm doing and as much good as there is, I am by no means someone that just gets off on like, hey, look, I did all these good things. The truth of the matter is I'll burn out. So, and I have before, and it's really ugly, and it's not a place anyone ever wants to get to. I don't recommend it. It's not a great thing, but I feel like the bare bones thing and the message from the tree spirit oracle is something that I can carry not just from that particular Five of Pence, but and that pulse, but into the next week or two until I've really started to adjust, and an actual paycheck comes in. But it is a lot because it's I'm up at 5 a.m, and I mean full 12 hours of my day is really is gone pretty much by the time I'm done with work at the moment, because I'm tired and it's new, and I'm not used to doing it anymore. So yeah, kind of just keeping up, like, okay, so cut away anything that you don't need and pay close attention to the things that you do. So for Natalie, that means no more ordering any more tarot decks, even the ones that are on Etsy that are on sale. Or not Etsy, eBay, that are like cheap. But also just, cut it back. And at this exact moment, in terms of Earth, watch how much energy you're using on things that you don't need, probably including doing this video. Maybe not. But yeah, I probably won't spend a whole lot of time futzing. I tend to like to futz. Do lots of little things around the house that aren't necessary, that I don't need to do, that aren't going to feed my physical, bodily well-being in some way, but are things that I just my inner child wants to play with or wants to do. And probably I see the point, making sure that I have my lunch made and packed for tomorrow, making sure that I get my laundry done before I go to bed, making sure, the dog has everything he needs, making sure all my pets are, just getting the ducks in a row, and don't waste energy on anything you don't have to. So, ta-da! Kind of a really cool tarot pulse, but it was so positive and so much fun. I really did have to share it. I really did. And I like, it's interesting too, because it also gives me just the like telling about it gives me further insight that I didn't have into that Five of Pence, just the talking about it. Because if I think about it, not so much in terms of money, but like at this moment, it's really just about maintaining the physical well-being. So if I stay on top of the physical well-being, and keeping myself together and keeping my my clothes are all organized and ready for tomorrow and all of that sort of thing, then, I can carry on and stay regulated and stay in good shape. And I also have to make sure that I really make time tomorrow morning to actually meditate. Did not get there today. Didn't get there yesterday. And at the same time, I still feel like I kind of meditated all day long. So anyway, there we are. So thank you guys. Wanted to just share that latest one with you. Hope everyone's well and having a great week. Talk to you soon.